What's up, everyone? Sergeant Argument here, and today we're reacting to Epic History's new video that came out like literally a week ago. Wellington's Triumph. Vitoria. What is that? Did I mean to say Victoria? According to this, that's not a word. Wellington was like this British commander or something that fought in Spain. So, something to do with Britain, I guess, at 1813, Napoleonic Wars. So, anyways, yeah, let's get started. While the Allied armies had seized the initiative and were... Let me turn down this volume. Literally... I keep trying to... On a bunch of my recent videos, the desktop audio, of the video is way quieter than my microphone audio, which is extremely loud for some reason and covers up the video. So, every time I try to fix it, it doesn't work. So hopefully it works this time. The Allied armies had seized the initiative around them, whilst the French armies were scattered all over Spain. Marshal Jourdan, he staffed with the King Joseph of Spain.
May 1813. While Napoleon's Grande Armée began its fight back in Central Europe following the disastrous invasion of Russia, 1,200 miles away, at the other end of Napoleon's embattled empire, another enemy was poised to strike. The previous year, Wellington's Anglo-Portuguese army had won a brilliant victory at Salamanca, but been held at Burgos and forced into a long, demoralizing retreat back to the Portuguese frontier. But after a winter of rest, reinforcement and training, Wellington's army was stronger than ever. 100,000 men, many
Whoa, that's a lot.
of them battle-hardened veterans.
So I was trying to do this in Spain. It has to do with Britain.
And for the first time, he had sufficient cavalry and artillery, while transport and medical services had also been improved. Morale was sky high.
Nice.
Their chief, known to the troops as Old Nosy, was cheered wherever he went.
How's he called Old Nosy? That's rude.
I never saw the British Army so healthy or so strong, Wellington informed London. In contrast, the French position in Spain was weaker than ever. Napoleon severely underestimated the threat posed by Wellington, and had just withdrawn 20,000 French troops for his own use in Germany. As Commander-in-Chief, King Joseph knew his forces were overstretched.
You think?
Napoleon allowed him to give up Madrid and move his capital to the more easily defended Valladolid. But withdrawing further, to a strong position like the Ebro River, was out of the question.
Wait, why?
That would send the wrong message to neutral Austria and Napoleon's wavering German allies. And so, with serious concerns, Joseph and his chief of staff, Marshal
Well, Austria's gonna turn against France, in a little bit here, anyway.
Jourdan awaited Wellington's offensive. This video is sponsored by Champions.
No! Oh my gosh. Why so many Raid Chatelations ads? Even if they, captured my family, I still wouldn't download Raid Chatelations. Just stop. Stop it, please. Please.
Sponsoring this video.
In a few days we shall take the field. The campaign bids fair to be most brilliant. I hope to see the Pyrenees before September. Pyrenees are like the mountains in between Spain and France, I think. Lieutenant George Simmons,
Wellington's plan was for his army to advance in two wings, concentrate at Toro, then move against Joseph's forces. In the south, Murray's Anglo-Sicilian Spanish force, based in Alicante, had just repelled an attack by Marshal Suchet at the Battle of Castalla.
What? I don't know, you just said it for me. Castalla? What? Why does it have two L's then? I don't... Why? What are the two L's for? What?
Murray would now mount a diversionary landing on the Mediterranean coast to coincide with Wellington's advance and prevent Suchet sending reinforcements north. Wellington had also counted on large-scale support from Spanish regular forces, of which he was, since November 1812, theoretically commander-in-chief. But the Spanish Cortes, based in Cadiz, was deeply divided, with many still highly suspicious of British motives. The result was that Wellington would only receive direct support from a few reliable Spanish divisions. Fortunately, he would receive considerable Spanish support from the guerrillas, now better armed, organized, and operating in greater numbers than ever before. A large area of Valencia had effectively been liberated by El Fraile, the Friar. Esposimina
It's a weird name.
had captured major towns in Navarre and was currently keeping General Clausel's Army of the North busy.
Oh my gosh. How can these guerrillas, like, hold all of these freaking armies there? That is insane.
While Juan Martín Díaz, aka El Empecinado, was tying down large numbers of French troops near Madrid.
Oh my gosh. Farewell, Portugal, I shall never see you again. What was this? Where were these guerrilla tactics elsewhere? These guerrilla tactics didn't happen in the Netherlands, not in Belgium, not in Germany. Like, yeah, there was resistance, but there wasn't, like, these full-on guerrilla conflicts. Like, not to this magnitude, at least not that I know of. It didn't happen in Italy, not in the former lands of Austria, not in Prussia. Like, what the heck?
On the 22nd of May, Wellington bid farewell to Portugal and began his advance. 4 days later, he was in Salamanca, from where he joined the northern wing of his army under Sir Thomas Graham. Joseph and Jourdan expected Wellington's main thrust to come from Salamanca, so planned to defend the line of the Douro River. But Graham's rapid advance north of the river meant they'd already been outflanked, and they ordered a retreat. By a series of brilliant marches, Wellington continued threatening the French right flank, forcing Joseph to keep falling back.
British are not supposed to be good at land. They're supposed to be only good at sea. What are they? How are they?
Wellington's army was able to use small roads and mountain tracks north of the main highway, which the French had dismissed as impassable. But thanks to his Spanish allies, Wellington knew better. Backed by British sea power, he was also...
Okay, guys, we're not going to retreat to the river, because then they'll see us as weak. But look at that. They have to retreat to that river anyway, as the British destroyed them.
now able to switch his supply base from Lisbon to Santander, drastically reducing the length of his supply lines, another feat the French had written off as impossible. At the Ebro River, the French found themselves outflanked yet again, and fell back to Vitoria.
What are you doing? Oh, that's the actual city name. What a weird name.
Here, Joseph decided that he must make his stand.
Yes, exactly. And it says Wellington's triumph, so I can only assume that Wellington is going to completely crush him.
The Zadorra River valley west of Vitoria seemed to offer a strong defensive position. Expecting an attack from the west, French forces were drawn up in 3 lines. General Gazon's army of the south formed the first line. Then General d'Erlon's army of the centre. Then General Rey's army of Portugal. Joseph hoped that he could at least buy time for the vast wagon convoy assembled east of the city to get away. It contained not only military supplies, but his government's treasury. And, as satirized by this contemporary British cartoon, the accumulated loot of 5 years' French occupation of Spain, including priceless works of art, jewels and antiques. He also expected General Clausel to arrive with 20,000 reinforcements any day.
Well, as you can see, they're kind of tied up fighting these guerrillas. So.
However, thanks to the guerrillas, Wellington was better informed of Clausel's whereabouts than Joseph himself. Knowing that Clausel couldn't reach Joseph before the 22nd of June, he decided to attack on the 21st. The day before, French patrols reported enemy troop movement to the north, so Rey's troops were moved to cover any threat to the army's line of communications. Apart from 1 division, which left to escort part of the wagon convoy to France. An odd decision that deprived the army of 4,000 men on the eve of battle.
But why?
Marshal Jourdan had been bedridden with fever that day. The next morning, he reconnoitred the army's position with King Joseph.
Oh my gosh, how many of these things are gonna keep happening?
They agreed that their position was overextended and should be shortened. But by the time their orders reached General Gazon, it was too late. He was already under attack.
Great. A sharp firing on the right gave us notice that the ball had opened.
Wellington, enjoying the advantage in numbers for once, had decided to attack in 4 columns across.
They have more troops too? I can't watch this anymore, this is just awful.
Across a 10-mile front, with General Graham's left-hand column threatening Joseph's line of retreat. It was a bold plan, with the potential to trap and destroy Joseph's army, but required careful coordination and precise timing. Fortunately, the French had not thought it necessary to destroy any of the bridges over the Zadorra River, which was also fordable in several places. At 8 a.m., General Hill's column began its attack on the Allied right. Spanish and British troops advanced up the western heights of Puebla, driving off French skirmishers, and forcing General Gazon to send reinforcements to secure his left flank. Hill's troops then seized the village of Subiana, but French cannon fire and counterattacks prevented any further advance. Convinced that Hill's attack was the main assault, and that troop movements to the north were probably a diversion, Jourdan continued to send troops from the centre to reinforce the left. This was exactly what Wellington wanted, but at 11 a.m. he was waiting with growing impatience for his other columns to go into action. Lord Dalhousie's 7th Division, supposed to be leading the attack by the centre-left column, had got held up in the mountains, while further east, Graham's flanking move had got off to a cautious start. But seeing the size of the approaching force, General Rey decided to...
They're so outnumbered! What the heck?
Pull back his troops across the Zadorra River. This encouraged Graham...
Please tell me they destroyed the bridges on the way out.
...to get things moving. Colonel Longa's Spanish division advanced on Durana, held by Spanish troops loyal to King Joseph, and a bitter struggle for the village ensued. British and Portuguese infantry advanced against Camara Mayor. They were soon engaged in bloody street fighting with the French. This scene shows an attack by the 4th King's Own Regiment of Foot and the 47th Lancashire Regiment. Though they succeeded in driving the French out of the village, they could not cross its bridge over the Zadorra, which was expertly covered by French guns.
Come on, you rascals. Come on, you fighting villains. Oh.
Around noon, a Spanish peasant informed Wellington that the bridge at Tres Puentes was completely unguarded. He immediately ordered Kempt's elite light infantry brigade to dash across it and secure a bridgehead. But there was still little sign of Dalhousie's 7th Division. General Picton, the notoriously short-tempered commander of the fighting 3rd Division, ran out of patience. Fed up with waiting for Dalhousie, he ordered his men to advance. They charged across the Mendoza Bridge and a nearby ford, driving back light French defences. General Gazan, with his left flank pinned down at Subiana, was now about to be outflanked on his right, and had
Oh my gosh!
no option but to pull back his troops. Wellington's army was now crossing the Zadorra River in force. Heavy fighting continued to rage on the heights of Puebla, but here the French also had to give ground to maintain the cohesion of their new line. Scottish Highlanders and Connaught Rangers, supported by riflemen and Portuguese troops, now stormed
some weird-looking troops. Look at them.
the village of Arignez, routing the defenders, who retreated southeast, and a gap began to emerge in the French centre between Gazan's army of the south
Oh my god!
and D'Erlon's army of the centre. The Allied advance continued, with heavy pressure on both French flanks. Wellington's army appeared to be building unstoppable momentum, with Graham's column poised to cut off Joseph's escape.
Artillery musketry heard in one continuous, uninterrupted volume of sound. The fire had already become exceedingly violent. Captain Andrew Lee, Wellington staff.
By 4 p.m, Wellington's army was formed up across the Zadorra, ready to strike a decisive blow. But his infantry came under heavy fire from 76 French guns, blasting great holes in their ranks. Allied guns were brought forward to provide support. The biggest artillery duel of the Peninsular War began. More than 70 guns on each side. Allied skirmishers, exploiting the gap in the French centre near Gomecha, were able to work their way behind the French guns.
How does that happen? What the heck? I literally cannot watch this anymore.
And shoot down their crews. Gazan found himself threatened on both flanks. But instead of trying to close up with D'Erlon to his north, on his own initiative he ordered a retreat that left D'Erlon's own left flank.
You know what? I'm done. We're done watching this video. I'm gonna take a nap. What the heck? Why? This is what is what?
Flank completely exposed. Around the same time, Longa's Spanish troops finally captured Durana.
Oh my god!
And rumours swept the French army that their escape route.
You know, they're just gonna like boom, boom, boom. Imagine if they like make it through them, then they can like literally attack them from behind, and then they'll get completely annihilated.
Had been cut. D'Erlon's army of the centre fought on bravely, withdrawing to another new defensive line just 1 mile west of Vitoria.
Oh yes, because that's gonna hold.
French guns kept up a steady fire on the advancing Allied lines, but once more, the position was outflanked.
No way, that's crazy.
Around 5:30 p.m, King Joseph bowed to the inevitable and ordered a general retreat.
That was completely awful.
As the main road to France had now been cut by Longa's Spanish troops, the army would have to retreat east towards Pamplona along a single narrow road with boggy fields on either side. Bad enough for thousands of troops and guns, but there had been no attempt to move off the army's enormous convoy of wagons earlier in the day. The result was pandemonium, as military units and artillery tried to force their way through the streets of Vitoria and the congested lanes and fields beyond.
Jesus Christ.
The task of forming a rearguard fell to General Reye's Army of Portugal, which conducted an organised withdrawal covered by its cavalry. Wellington hoped that Graham's column would now be surging across the Zadorra River to cut off the French army's retreat. But Graham, overestimating the enemy's strength, continued to take a cautious approach. East of Vitoria, the French retreat descended into total chaos. The single narrow road became blocked. Wagons that took to the fields got stuck and were abandoned. Allied cavalry fell upon this confused mass, spreading panic and meeting little serious opposition. King Joseph and Marshal Jourdan themselves narrowly escaped capture. Among the abandoned...
Oh my god! All these commanders seem to be just fired.
wagons, many civilians, including officers, wives and children, priceless paintings, jewels and furniture, and more than 5 million gold francs. Troops on both sides broke ranks and dived into an orgy of plundering. One British officer described the scene. About dusk, the head of our column came suddenly on some wagons which had been abandoned by the enemy. Someone called out, "They are money carts!" No sooner were the words uttered than the division broke as if by word of command, and in an instant the covers disappeared from the wagons and nothing was seen but a mass of inverted legs, while the arms were groping for dollars. For money it certainly was. The scene was disgraceful, but at the same time, ludicrous. Wellington, however, was furious. Not only did the plundering delay pursuit of the enemy, but giant sums of cash, which might have paid for his army's supplies, vanished into private pockets instead. Of 5.5 million francs, only 250,000 were ever recovered by the army.
Whoa, what? That is a serious amount.
Vitoria...
Wait, 5.5 million francs, like, back then? Well, actually not, I'm stupid. Yes, it's back then, because francs don't exist anymore. Guys, this is, like, really far back. Like, francs are worth a lot more than they do now, so 5.5 million francs is probably a lot more than it is today.
ever recovered by the... He was...
Are you kidding me? I missed... Oh my god. Dang it. Where was I?
Victory for the coalition. Vitoria was a great victory for the coalition.
No, I don't want to see the casualties. Oh my god.
Not as crushing as it might have been, reflected in relatively...
Oh, alright. That's not too bad, actually.
light French casualties. But in the
Look at those captured and missing. That's a lot.
chaotic retreat that followed, the Allies did capture all but 2 of 153 French guns, and even Jourdan's Marshal's bateau.
Yeah, send me among the trophies of your unrivaled fame. The baton of a French marshal. And I send you in return. That of England. British Army will hail it with rapturous enthusiasm. The French reach to Field Marshal Lord Wellington.
French military power in Iberia was broken. The Bonapartist Kingdom of Spain was at an end. Joseph returned to France to face his brother's criticism. Marshal Jourdan retired from active service. Napoleon sent Marshal Soult to replace them, but even his shrewd military mind could not turn the tide in Spain. Counterattacks to relieve the French garrisons at Pamplona and San Sebastian were defeated. That autumn, Wellington began what proved an unstoppable advance across the Pyrenees and into France. In southern Spain, where Marshal Suchet remained undefeated, the disaster at Vitoria forced him also to withdraw towards the frontier, leaving behind just a few isolated garrisons. After a bitter 5-year struggle, the Allies had brought the Peninsular War, to the Spanish their War of Independence, to a victorious conclusion. It had been a long, hard road, steeped in blood and suffering. The alliance between Britain and Spain had been particularly treacherous to navigate. But ultimately, both nations had fought together with Portugal to drive the French back across the Pyrenees. New research provides a clearer insight than ever into the huge attrition of French manpower in Iberia. An estimated total of 260,000 lives lost. 3/4 died of sickness. Of approximately 66,000.
What? That is a lot that died from sickness.
Deaths from combat, 43% were in actions against Spanish regular forces, 38% fighting British-led armies, and 19% fighting guerrillas.
But look how many died of sickness, oh my god.
By contrast, British military deaths are estimated at 52,000. Portuguese 15,000, with many more thousands of civilian deaths, while Spanish deaths are unknown, though the country as a whole may have lost as many as 500,000 lives in 5 years of war and occupation. For Napoleon, this disaster had been an unnecessary and largely self-inflicted wound. An intervention born of arrogance and false assumptions, with dire strategic consequences. But as the Napoleonic Empire crumbled in Spain, an even greater struggle neared its climax in Central Europe, where Napoleon faced the most powerful coalition of his enemies yet. If the French Emperor was victorious in Germany, Wellington might soon be scrambling back across the Pyrenees. The fate of Europe was about to be decided at the Battle of Leipzig. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for watching, everyone. That was interesting. Yeah, exactly. They have to do one about the Egypt campaign. Why don't they have one about that? Also, they don't have... They did do a remake of the Waterloo thing. The Waterloo video is not that... was not, like, as high of quality as the newer ones were. So, they need to redo that. Especially because it was, like, a really long time before the newer ones came out. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and goodbye. Well, everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And, you know, turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. But yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, and if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, you know, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.